You don't want to forget that. Boom. Well, happy spring. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Energy for Sales podcast. Tim and Hooper and David Oliphant, your hosts, where we believe if you're not having fun in sales, something's wrong. David, we believe that we can have fun and should have fun in sales. So always trying to insert the fun, figure out how to break it down simply so that we can have a framework. We can go out there with confidence, know that we're going to succeed, and then have some fun along the way. So I'm excited. We got a guest today I'm excited about.
Absolutely. And Tim, that was one of the most non-energy filled intros.
Good.
Welcome to the Energy for No, you were fine. Excellent guest, super good friend of mine. I'll say at the beginning, I have my neighbor's lawn care service cranking up. Tim's got kids on spring break, and our guest Todd Bowman has dogs that have been sleeping all morning and should be up here soon. So this is going to be fun. But yeah, if you're not having fun in anything, but especially sales, then you are doing something wrong. Life needs to be about the fun. And when I think back in the decade plus that Todd and I have known each other and worked together and met with each other and networked together, it's always been a fantastic experience. Todd Bowman brings a tremendous amount of expertise to sales and to networking and to a lot of different things. So I'm proud to call him my friend. One thing that was very interesting, we met for coffee after we sent the email back in January and wanted him to be on this topic of networking. And so we're having our connection talk and we're talking, and I said, so about the podcast, he said, look, David, I don't network anymore. And so that was the reason he's here, because it's really about an evolution of how that gets refined over the years. He and I are having coffee. We reached out. That's a form of connection and networking in my mind. But it was very interesting. I didn't have to sell him on it, but I did have to answer his question. I think he was just testing me to see if I understood where he was on the evolutionary path of networking. But we've done a lot of great things together, from chamber events to networking events to really this evolution. So Todd, thanks so much for joining us today as a repeat offender guests over the podcast over the years. And man, it's great to see you, and welcome back.
You bet, man. Appreciate you guys reaching out. And we're always networking. It's just what flavor of networking are you doing at the moment? I guess that's probably the best way to say it. So.
That's a great way to put it. I'm going to share a story in a second, but Todd, why don't you tell everybody where you're out in the world, what you're up to, and who makes a good referral for you?
Sure. So I think since the last time we talked, a lot's changed just in the world, but also from a work perspective, have really closed the circle down a significant amount. I think the pandemic forced a lot of people to kind of, take an inventory of where they spend their time and who they're spending time with. I know it did for me. And I think in doing that, both personally and professionally, it really gave some clarity on where's my time best spent, what value can I bring to the room, am I in the right room, and is my circle comprised of the right folks that I can all, we can all help one another in some form or fashion. So it gave the world pause in a lot of ways, positive and negative, however you want to take that. But I think at the end of the day, it really slowed things down to really assess, am I where I need to be with the right folks around me? So professionally, life's gotten really good. The last 4 years, the job has significantly grown. I'm still within Sparity, been here 8 years as of last month.
Wow.
Candidly, I'd like to have another 8 more and then call it a day. I think if I do the right thing, the right type of networking, I should be able to get there in the next 8 years. But personally, I'm in a different season of life now. As a co-founder of a junior and senior in high school, we're at that season of life where they're doing things, more expensive things in the very near future. So that's going to require making sure we keep the momentum and pace going that we're doing right now for what's next in their life. So busy, good, but
though you also do something for fun. You've become a professional ham radio operator.
That's true. Since I talked to you guys last, I got my FCC license for both the technical and general level of communication there. So another type of networking, but what's interesting about that is a very analog way of networking. There's a few folks in my couple of clubs I'm in that don't even have email, which is awesome. I don't know how you do that.
That is great. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the oldest form of communication. It's the most reliable form of communication. No matter what the world throws at us, that's where most folks go initially for comms on situations on the ground where there's a natural disaster of any kind. That's the way people communicate what's going on. So it's a lot of fun. Dorky little hobby. My grandpa was an operator. My best friend in Atlanta is one, so we kind of geek out on that together. So
that is great. That is awesome, man. I did not know. So David, I think you were saving that little surprise for the live today. So that is great. Todd, for you, you're sitting in Nashville or right near Nashville, correct?
Yep, I'm in Nashville proper.
For you.
Yep.
Okay, Nashville proper. So welcome from the Central Time. You and David both. Welcome to the Eastern Time here. So hopefully everyone's joined that's going to join. We'll go through a couple of housekeeping slides and then turn the slideshow off so you can just get a full dose of Todd and David energy. But again, welcome to the Energy4Sales podcast. We do this every month, fourth Monday, unless it falls on a holiday. Then we've slided back to the third Monday. But we picked a Monday afternoon because get in, get your stuff done. And you could jump in, listen in, chime in, but once a month. And really the thing that we wanted was something for the trifecta. We got asked by a lot of our title agents, a lot of our mortgage loan officers, and even real estate agents, hey, like we want more of this training. Can we jump in? So every month, this is that consistency for what I call the trifecta of the real estate transaction. So feel free to invite your friends to future, but again, always try to keep these super practical, very valuable for you, and but high level sales. I mean, I believe sales is like our buddy Tom Coates says, it's all about being a lifelong learner. It's a skill. It's not about being more charismatic than the next person. It's really about some sales framework and skill, and like David and I believe inserting more fun into it. Because if you can have fun, you can strip your psyche out and do more of it and have fun with it. Not take yourself too seriously, but take everybody's time seriously and invest the right values so that people want to meet with you. So welcome to the monthly. Real quick, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, we get asked every time, like, dude, I need the recording. Like, I need my team to see this one. It's every time uploaded to YouTube. So subscribe to the channel. You'll see the long form there. You'll probably see some short form on social. But get subscribed to the channel and invite your team. We newly launched the YouTube. We were doing a lot on Apple and Spotify in the past, so you can go back and listen to some of the archive there. But YouTube's where we're going forward, as we believe the consumer's favorite type of content is video. Although Todd has challenged me to analog this morning, or this afternoon.
That's 2.0.
It's the 2.0. That's exactly right. So as we go through, as you guys know, you can send us your questions throughout the month with the QR code on the screen. This goes straight to JotForm. We don't put your name out for the world. It's all anonymous. But if you have a question, a sales question throughout the month, just scan this, star it in your favorites, put in there, ask the sales guys, whatever, save it to your browser, open it up, shoot us. And anytime you have a sales question, shoot it. What we do is we go, after Todd leaves here, we go into just Q&A session and just answer those questions in some fun riff format, so that you can get a little bit of the reasoning behind our answer. And then we also turn it into a little bit of a training session. So send us your sales questions. We have a few this afternoon we'll go through, but that's available. And also throughout this live with Todd, drop your questions. If he says something, you're like, what? Wait a minute, drop a question. All right, try to stump the guest, right? No, I'm just kidding, but drop your questions in the chat. We do answer those live. So, and then get signed up for next month. The same link you guys saw this morning as a reminder, same link for the whole year. So you could use the link or scan the QR here if you're watching the recording later. All right, guys, I'll stop sharing my screen and we're going to jump in. So the topic today and the story I was going to share was David and I were doing a podcast. I don't know, David, during the pandemic. I forget exactly when it was.
Probably about 3 years ago.
Was it about 3 years ago? And we did it. It was called Don't Be That Guy. And the whole crux of it was like, if we're in it for us, if we're just in it for us, we show up to the event just for us, we're just trying to get out of every interaction what we need, then we are that guy. And we were saying, don't be that guy. Be in it to give. Go into these networking events, postures, whatever. So in that podcast, I didn't even know who Todd was from Adam, but David was like, yeah, you got to be more like my friend Todd. And so he told this story about Todd. So then afterwards, and he described Todd as, and I'm holding up the book here, the Go-Giver. And if you've not read this book, again, just another resource to share on the call here, The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann. It's one of the best little reads. It will challenge you. It actually I still have some conflict internally with that book, because it takes you to the next level of this 100% give, 100% in it to invest in others and watch it come back. It's almost a dare in a way, but I've been challenged by it. So Go-Giver, good book. Now, Todd was described to me as that Go-Giver. And so we had him on a podcast after that, and completely blown away by his methodology, by the way that he would show up as a trusted advisor to people, the questions he asked. I think the podcast we did with you, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, was the questions to ask and then go deeper. And it was all about deepening by just asking better questions. And then you came on to one of our virtual summits, Energy4Sales virtual summits. You contributed there. And every time I got around Todd, I had people reaching out, please connect me to Todd, or I got to know this guy, or that. So he's back. I don't think there's anybody better to talk about networking, because Todd goes into networking like, I don't need networking. Now, he knows he needs networking, but he goes in with this 100% give attitude, and it's powerful. So we're going to talk today in casual conversation with a little bit of structure, better networking. And so Todd, like, in a word, like, what is networking? What does that mean to you? Like, how have you grown in your profession in the way you approach networking?
Sure. That's a great question. And thanks again for having me back. I appreciate it, guys. I'll say in a word, it would be intentional. Intentional with your time, intentional with other people's time, and intentional where you go. You get hit with probably 100 events a week that you could possibly go to. And picking the right ones is always a trick, especially early on, because you want to meet a lot of folks, plant a lot of seeds, get your name out there. But what I learned in moving to Nashville 15 years ago with no professional network at all was that I did a lot of that, almost to a fault, where I built a network that was about a mile wide and about an inch deep. So at the end of the day, especially the last probably 5 years, I've been very intentional about just closing that circle down, narrowing that network down towards someone pops on my LinkedIn profile. And it's not 100%, but there's a good chance if somebody's on there that I've engaged with, I can at least make an introduction that's meaningful to them. So I think being intentional about where you network, when you network. I personally use LinkedIn as a digital Rolodex for folks just to keep up with things. I'm not on it all day. I probably peruse it 2-3 times a week, maybe an hour collectively, just for highlights and things like that are meaningful to other people. Reshare, repost, that kind of thing. But I would say being intentional of where you go, and it takes time, but based on your profession and who you're trying to get in front of, you'll figure that out fairly fast. Is it a happy hour my folks are? Is it a breakfast meeting? Or is it a monthly luncheon I should be in front of? So I think figuring out where your tribe is probably best spent, and where you can provide the most value when you're in the room with somebody.
Lots to unpack there, David. Your wheels are turning.
There is a lot. I just, it's just been like a journey, because Todd and I together have been in all of those type rooms, from the huge networking events to being on the new member committee with the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce to something really neat that Todd created with a couple like-minded business associates, where we met monthly. I don't want to steal the thunder, but I'll let him share that. But all the way to, coffee 6 weeks ago, where he said, well, why do you want me to talk about networking? I don't network anymore. Well, after he told me about the story about the day before where he was with someone one-on-one, and so he, when I think about it, he really has refined that. And, when we go back to don't be that guy, the genesis of that was, and we've all probably been there. We've either done it or we've been the receiver. I'm a giver, so I will give anyone time. I was just at a point where I was a little frustrated with people that when they need something, you hear from them. They never close the loop. Someone had me look at their resume. I've spent a couple hours helping refine it. I don't hear from them. I'm worried about them. And they had gotten a job 4 weeks later and didn't ever close the loop. So when I was thinking about don't be that guy, Todd's always the one that will check in, just to check in, and he's not that guy. You hear from him if you're in that inner circle, because he genuinely cares about you, and that's the type of network and community that we all need to build, because he's never that guy or gal. So
It's just stuff your parents taught you when you're little. You get a little rusty. It's say please and thank you. I mean, it's not anything new.
Well, a little fitting for Holy Week, thinking about that story about the 10, that were healed, and like one turned around and said, thank you. And the question was posed, like, where are the other 9? So again, very fitting. But as we build our network, I really think that's where, like, we want to get into doing better networking, and we're going to unpack that. But really, before we do, just kind of I think perspective shifts are probably the most growth in my life have happened when somebody challenged my perspective on something, right? And so I think just talking to Todd way back when, and even just re-engaging here, Todd, on this live, and David, always around you and our morning coffees, is leveling up my mindset on how to look at something. And network, or building a network, like, maybe let's unpack the meaning of the word in different people's mindsets that we are associated with, because I think everyone has a little bit of a different perspective of what networking is. And so before we go into like better networking, let's maybe lift that perspective a little bit. So, like, David and Todd, what do you see out there when a young professional comes into their career and they say networking? It probably doesn't mean the same thing, Todd, maybe you say networking is to you now, 20 years later. So maybe help all of us young people or young professionals, I should say. I don't know if you can say that anymore.
Easy.
It doesn't matter.
yeah, really, I'm used to it. Todd's not.
Help all of us like fast forward to that place, see it from your perspective, so that maybe we do a few things differently today.
Well, I'll kick it off. I'll give Todd a little bit of time to think. But if you think of a computer network. What is a computer network? It's connection. It's connecting the dots. It's connecting points. It's a connection point. And until you've asked that question just now, Tom, I really never thought of it like, what is networking? Like, okay, I got to go to networking events. Well, a network, becomes a co-joined connection points. And again, a lot of what we'll teach today, I've done it the wrong way. But in your evolution as a young person, it does seem to be, let me go in this room and let me go meet a bunch of people and get a bunch of business cards. What was interesting, like when we would have days where we were supposed to go out and network or go to the field, you could go to the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce office that had slots for all these business cards of every member of the chamber, and like you'd come back with 100 cards. And that's kind of what, like, going to a networking event and coming back with that same amount, you've not really made an impact. So it really is an evolution when you start to learn. And I'll share later. Tom, last month, Tom Coates, the professor of the professional selling organization at Jones College of Business and MTSU, had an event a week and a half ago where he's teaching these students about how the proper things to network, and we have some things about that. But it is it's about connection. That's all it is. Long-winded answer. Why do we network? And if you look at what does a network do, it connects.
I like what Nicole dropped in here. Relationships, 100%. So Todd, like, relationships, man, like, maybe what do you see out there, young professional wise? Maybe when you were a young professional, you kind of talked about mile wide, inch deep, but and then what's the perspective today?
I think I got 2 quick examples, recent examples. I met someone last week. She's 26. She reached out to me. I'm twice her age. And she specifically said, hey, look, I reached out to you. I just want to talk to you about just some advice, tips, and things as a young professional. Would you be willing to share that? I was like, heck yeah, that's awesome. Very buttoned up, very polished. I was blown away just given her tenure in professional world and having just gotten out of college not too long ago, kind of where she was already. So someone like that is humble enough to ask for help and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. How would you do it? Do you know people that can help me get to this stage of what's next for her? There's 3 people that came to mind immediately that I don't work with, but I'm willing to tee her up because just how she showed up. And I think that alone is the first impression you leave with somebody.
Hmm.
But relationships of any kind, personally, professionally, they take effort, they take energy, they take intentionality. We've all been in good relationships and bad ones, and everybody brings something to the table. So I think it's a matter of finding the right fit for you personally and professionally that makes sense. When you force something, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it never ends well. So professional relationships, I would say, think in terms of what value can I bring to this, from a ROI. Let's just put it out there as it is. We're all in sales to make money. Am I going to invest my time networking with a group of people that I really just enjoy hanging out with, or that I can develop myself professionally to bring value into my conversations, but more importantly, loop them into the convos that I'm having when they're not in the room? That's a natural introduction. I think that's what I've really thought in the last few years of who am I really hitching my wagon to? And does it make sense to have them as an introduction versus just a good professional friendship or professional, connection? I think there's a big difference in referral partners and potential referral partners.
I'm taking some notes here, dropping in the chat, guys, and please use the chat, throw in there, what does a relationship or what does networking mean to you? Like Nicole dropped in relationships. We'd love to hear from you guys. So drop in the chat real quick. What does it mean to you in a word, in a sentence? A couple things you said, Todd, there was humble enough to ask for help. I think right away, like networking, how many times, sometimes I put the pressure on myself that I always have to bring value to the network. And that's good, but it's not all about what I insert. Sometimes it's about asking for help, being willing to say somebody's ahead of me, or maybe being willing to offer the help if somebody's just coming into the group. So I love that you said that. And then it takes energy, but all of us hate investing energy in something that doesn't feel like it's doing or building anything. So then I love the qualifier that you used with that to say, finding the right fit that makes sense. And then here's one thing that just the bell went off in my head. Am I in the group that I can bring them, am I bringing value to the conversation, but then can I bring those people I'm spending time with into my everyday conversations? If I can do that, then that is a great litmus test that I am actually in the right group. I'm in the right group. So that's pretty powerful. It's a web all about connections. Robert, thanks. Like David said, connection points. I like that you said it's a web. Exactly. It's sticky. That's how you get sticky. That's why Todd's sticky. That's why people are sticking to your web. That's why he doesn't do networking anymore.
Well, it's back to Dave's comment about that group I started years ago with some mutual friends. We called it 6 Degrees Connecting Nashville, kind of a play off Kevin Bacon. And jokingly enough, people would actually bring bacon-themed snacks and silly things to the event just as a play on it. But at one point, we probably had 80 to 100 people showing up to the thing once a month. There was no agenda. We were anti-name tag, which made people, be intentional about saying hello versus, oh, you're in sales or you're a banker, and they put you in a box. We made it fun. We would have, David's been a while, I slept a few times. We had a number one time, 1 through 10, and you picked a number, you didn't know what it was. And the rules were written very simply. If you get a 4 and David's a 4, go meet a 4 and talk to a 4. So it forced you to have a conversation. For people that hate networking, it was a good, easy icebreaker. It was different. And the other rule was nobody's going to be fanning out business cards. If you meet somebody you like, take it offline afterwards. Schedule a coffee with them, get to know them. Don't just come here to pitch. We did was it superpowers one time, first band you saw live. Just good just easy questions. Everybody has a good time answering.
Up there on the roof patio of the building. Yeah. And so the events were fun. The work behind the scenes, if someone wants to create that, was Todd was very intentional about bringing people together who he trusted, number one, trust, to follow the rules, but to be there every month. And we were there to learn, because the goal is to be a trusted advisor. That's where that's the go-giver mentality. If I can cut someone's time to find what they're looking for with someone that I trust and I know and that I like, it's super important. And so monthly we would meet. one of us would spend an extended amount of time. First, the 6 or 8 of us would check in with each other. How are we personally and how are we professionally? And then someone would spend 10 minutes on a deeper dive of their offering. And it was just a lot of fun. You got to know 8 other people. You knew, so that when you heard in a conversation somebody was struggling with something, again, you could go to a trusted advisor. And yes, the events were fun, but the work inside the room on a monthly basis was really where the magic happened. And what, really getting into the depth of how each person was helping others achieve their goals through their offerings and the companies that they work for. And it was a lot of fun to do that. Look forward to it every day that it came up in that month.
Well,
we didn't have to kick too many people out.
I love this.
I think one, it's like, I don't know about that guy.
Yeah, that one gets by the goal.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I love that. Again, you said you kept it fun. And when I hear fun, I think about it this way. I always think fun, and then in my brain, it's like my brain is just very imagery heavy anyway, but it's like fun. And I see like fun, i.e. human, because like when I'm around my kids or when I'm around people in the community or I'm around people I enjoy, it is fun. It is fun to be around. You're learning about them in a human way. There's nothing really off the table. There's not all these like rules and it's fun. And in business, I've realized the more I can release whatever little inner expectations I have, or all these like professionalistic things that I probably put on myself anyway, nobody else did, but whatever, the more I can just unpack and get rid of the ego side of things, and let the title go and just everything else, and just show up and really look to give, Erica, you put it in there, the go-giver spirit, it turns to a fun conversation. It turns everything around. So I love that you said no business card exchanges. The number roulette is an awesome idea. And then anti-name tags, like, boom.
Well, I'm smiling because I remember one of these themes, one of the questions on your name tag was on the toilet paper roll. Are you an over or an under? I mean, just a simple conversation, which it always has to be an over. I'll turn
it doesn't
around
rip right if it's under, but anyway.
We only had a few unders that night, and they got called out for it too. Made it fun. Almost ridiculous.
Hilarious. That is hilarious.
Yeah,
okay, so one of the questions we actually had, David and I were going to unpack later, but you kind of already unpacked it, was how do I do ad networking to my events? Because a lot of you on the call, you're in real estate, or you're in title, or you're a loan officer. This like trifecta of real estate, and you're trying to go out there and meet, people, whether you're B2C because you're meeting home buyers or sellers, or whether you're a title company in the service side of real estate and you're meeting real estate agents or loan officers. You're either putting together a community event or you're putting together maybe an educational event. And we get asked all the time, how do I build better networking into, whether I'm trying to get community members in a neighborhood to meet each other network, or whether I'm trying to get like real estate agents or loan officers to meet each other network. How do I insert that? You were just given like some amazing ideas, but Todd, let me pose it more in a actual question. How would somebody start? What should they think of if they're adding? Should networking be its own event, or can you successfully tack it on as a pre or post to something already going on?
It's a great question. I think it depends on the type of event and the type of attendees. I think it has to be part of your business, no matter what stage you're at. I jokingly told David, I'm not networking anymore. I am, but it's very selective. So if you're new in your career, you have to do it. You just can't not. The world we live in now, post-pandemic, it's tougher to reach people sometimes. So I think people love that human interaction. So if you can do something that's engaging, that's not work related, that's the subtle piece of it. Food's an easy one. Do a cooking class. That's a common thread we all have, is food, So that's what I would say there, but you have to do it. I think it's frustrating as somebody new in a career too, is I want to give, but you have nothing to give. And I don't mean nothing in a transactional perspective. It's more of, I don't have my network yet. I don't have my stories or my expertise to offer. And I think that's where the humility has to come in a little bit, and just say, hey, look, I'm new to this. I'm this far into it. Here's what I'm looking to do. if you were me, who are two people you think I should be talking to at this moment in time? And what can I do for you? I think that's the conversation at that stage. But think of it this way, it's probably the best analogy is if you're building out that your network, you can go big, you can go small. I'll keep it small and say, if I had to put together the best foursome for a golf tournament, who's on my list? I need a good person off the tee box. I need a good person with irons. I need a good short game person. I need a good putter to have a good, solid team. Who is that team? And that's where I focus my time is I don't want 30 referral partners. I want 3 or 4 that I would have to my house, again, food to dinner, or I'd play golf with. And then that way we're all doing something we like together, but we all bring a certain strength and aspect to it. So I would think in terms of that way, but then grow beyond that kind of your second and third tier of people you should know in the community, but you're not going to refer, especially in real estate. You got a lot of options of people you can refer to. Find your trusted few folks that you can reach out to that will do the same for you, and you'll find that cadence on its own organically.
I think also, easy ones are to bring people together for a charity, whether it's, a Habitat for Humanity, something like that. But one cool idea was, a company at a trade show booth having a Build-A-Bear scenario, stuffing, animal, picked a color of a heart, you had notes, and you stood there with the attendees and built it. It gave you 5 minutes to talk while you were stuffing, getting it down in the arm, and the head's the easy part, getting in those arms and legs. But and those went to one of the children's hospitals. So there are ways even inside of a trade show booth, because Tim, the question was like inside of your own events. Now this is not your own event, but again, it was a fun thing, and had you connected for more than a hi, my name's David, how can I help you? You actually were able to talk side by side with folks.
We'll co-host stuff too, people that should be near I did something a little different this weekend. We took some people to the Preds game, and I had 4 tickets to invite. I had 8, but I figured everybody plus a spouse. So you get the spouse involved if there's a way to do that. Then on the ride home, you're like, who was that David guy? What's he do? Like, I really dug him. Like, you guys seem to be good buddies. Like, you don't talk about him enough. We should hang out with him more. That's the sticky part too. When you get the spouse involved, if you can, there's another hook in it. But I did that this weekend. The 4 people I brought were people that they should know each other outside of the event. They're people that I want to network with better and more, that really play a key role in my advisory group. But outside of that, the 4 of them should be able to go out there and crush it. So my hope was, if you don't know each other now, meet your spouses, and then take it from there. My hope is, hey, I met you because of Todd at that Preds game 3 years ago. Because of that, I'm here now. That's the seed I'm planting. It's authentic because I hope the same comes back my direction as well. But it was a fun event. We're there for something common, which is the Preds game, which we won, by the way. And 2 of the people that came was their first hockey game. So you use a lot of different experiences and conversations around that. So getting the spouse involved is an easy one because there's another hook to have conversation beyond that.
Yep. I love the long-term play. Like we just said, I met you because of Todd's event 3 years ago. If that's your goal, if that's like your KPI of putting something together, you want the connections to be so deep and rich that they're now doing stuff together, and they'll never forget who tied them together. Like, I'll never forget David tied me to you, Todd. Never. I mean, we talked about you for a whole podcast before I ever met you. But here's the thing, Andrew, I love it. Favorite question you've started using recently per Ryan Estes. Ryan, great guy. Just heard him speak not too long ago. What do you enjoy outside of work? It's a great question to ask your colleagues, the people right in your network. What do you enjoy doing? You'll find stuff out. Andrew asked that of our leader here in the Mid-Atlantic, Joe, and Andrew was telling me the conversation, and I learned something about Johnny. Even know. I was like, wow. So like my connection went deeper because somebody else had asked this question, but it is just really cool. So what do you enjoy doing outside of work? Jen, thank you. Authentic, invested, humble. Love that. Good stuff. Trust building. Awesome. All right. So you said something earlier, Todd. And by the way, I love that you said get spouses involved. Especially when it makes sense, right? Especially in like an advisory or some people you're really spending a lot of time with. And we work in the legal field, like title agents, a lot of attorneys, we're spending a lot of time on cases, big things together. makes, just think about maybe where you could go there when you're building that tier one, if you will. And I like that you said think in tiers. You really teed up one of the topics I want to get into, because you said if you're really just starting out, you don't feel like you have your network together, and showing up and saying, hey, what two people should I be meeting with? And by the way, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? Great posture to be in. Right away, I think that would give me as a young professional confidence to start engaging. But what are some other tips? And David, feel free to chime in on this too. What are some other tips you would give somebody just starting out or even mid-career to just build their confidence? Say they go in a room and just naturally they always feel nervous around just being in a room or being around networking. Maybe it's not their event they're hosting. Maybe it's somebody else's event. What are some confidence boosters?
Well, I mean, we've talked about, a lot of these. I'll pick and choose. I think that, you have some folks that they're not naturally an extrovert, they're an introvert. And the worst thing in the world is to walk into a crowded room where you really don't know anyone. That's intimidating. Where I advise folks in that regard, of course, I always get get everywhere early. If you go in that room and there's 2 or 3 people there, then you're warmed up to it. You meet somebody and then you see other people walk in, you can meet them, and you can kind of push back that fear of, oh my God, there's not even a corner I can go hide in. The room is so packed. And I have found some anxiety around that, especially if I'm in a new industry and I really don't know anybody, and I'm an extrovert, but I still feel that. Like if I walk into a packed room, like where the heck do I start? I have no idea. I'm standing in the corner of the room, and like I want to just walk right back out. So for me, getting there a little early is a good practice, I think. And then you see people when they come in one at a time.
Yeah.
All right, Todd, what are some of the things that you'd say, hey, here's how to build your confidence?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, Dave, that where you are in the room makes a big difference. The timing of getting there. It's kind of like gambling too. You almost want to set a limit. Like, okay, I'm going to have this as my goal for the event or the time I'm going to leave, no matter what. Because if not, it's exhausting. You're at this event for an hour, 3 hours, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Again, being intentional. Why am I here? Why did I get in the car and drive myself to this event that I do or don't want to be at? Because I think I have to. I would say 2 things that I've learned. The easy way and the hard way sometimes. If it's a new to you, new event, new to the industry, take a wingman. Take somebody with you that
That's great.
that you guys can work the room together and have fun with it. Because then it's not you. You're not the ones always on. You can rip on each other, have a good time with it in a professional way. And this one may be a shocker, but something I've seen a lot of people doing recently is no drinks, no booze. Having done a lot of that in the past, I'm a social guy, but I'm a big introvert too. When I'm off, like literally off. But I think if you can keep it fun, keep it sober, I think what you'll see quickly is that the ones that don't really show the best. And I think that's another impression you leave with folks. If you're the last one there, shutting the place down, probably not smart. So I would say keep a level head, keep your head on straight, and take a wingman would probably be my 2 words of advice. Again, if it's supposed to be a happy hour and everybody's there drinking and that's the purpose of it, partake, have fun, but don't make that your reason to go, and then hopefully network with somebody. I think a lot of people do that. If there's a free option or something like that, and you get caught up in that real easy, and then you end up coming home with, like, I had 3 or 4 drinks, and man, I didn't meet anybody, but man, I had a great time. Like, what
I met Jack Daniels.
Exactly.
Already knew him. Plus,
right.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because again, this event that Tom Coates had with the students and a couple of his business partners who have invested in the program was around not drinking. And it's not a buffet either. Don't go there. I mean, you see people with like a full plate of food and a drink in their hand. How are you even going to shake their hand? I mean,
right.
So he did say the best place to stand is between the front door and the food, or the front door and the drink station, because you will see people come by. But yeah, he's teaching these young professionals, it's not a booze cruise, and it's not a buffet. And I think going back to the original question, also with comfortability, if you get there early, if it's an event where people have pre-registered and their name tags, you can scan the name tag, say, "Oh, I know Todd, I know Tim. Already, I'm feeling a little bit, more comfortable. I'm going to be on the lookout for them."
Yeah.
And there's other things we talked about, which I know you'll bring up, which is some
Yeah,
pre-event
we'll
planning.
probably. I want to dig so deep into Todd's brain. We'll probably save some of the questions we got for our segment after this, David. But specifically to what Todd was saying about just being intentional. And Jen, you had a great question here, so we'll go ahead and unpack it here. Going with somebody, or if you're new. So, what's your advice for being new to an established networking group? How does one, quote, break in or effectively become a valued member? So let's unpack that, because I think the two are going to tie nicely with each other.
One first question that comes to mind is, it one you opted in, or did they invite you in? Was probably where I'd start with that. If you were invited to it, then that's already a big plus. Somebody saw value in including you in something. If it's kind of an open group where anybody can join, then figure out, and you probably, I would say, give it 2 events, 3 at the most, to kind of get a read and a vibe of who's in the room. I would say breakfast events, people that show up to those dressed up, ready to rock, are probably a little more serious than folks that roll into a happy hour. Just my experience.
And we've done both.
Yeah, I've done both. I mean, but I think there's value in someone that's up getting after the day versus someone that's trying to close out their day and is just in it for that. Not saying happy hours are wrong. I do happy hours. Don't take this the wrong way. I think the caliber of person you get and the quality of conversation is different at different events. So I find breakfast, coffees earlier in the day, people more intentional about being there, and they're ready to talk shop, more so than the later events tend to be. But later events are good for different reasons. It just depends on why you're there.
It's great. It's great. I like that you shared, did you opt in or did you get invited? And if I was being invited, I might ask the person inviting me, like, where do you see me adding the most value?
Yeah.
I might actually dig into, like, why am I invited here?
I'll add something real quick to that too. I joined 3 groups this into last year, first of this year, on my own dime, just to invest in myself. Couple you got to be qualified for, a couple, or it's invite. I looked at the ones, I'm like, okay, here's one that's for people that are developing boards. I don't know anything about that, but I can bring that into my day-to-day conversation. There's one about exit planning for businesses that are on the back end of the spectrum. Okay, I want to be better at having those conversations. Where can I plug in to learn from that group? And then personally, I joined Vistage. I opted in for that. It's a pay-to-play type environment, but there's a small group of people. There's 8 or 10 of us that meet very intentionally once a month. So I think for me, that's where I focus in on the groups that I want to be in, and then I'm invited to other stuff. But again, I'm selective of my time. There's only so much I have. Everybody has the same amount, actually, but where I spend it. So I think if it's a group you're invited to and people say, hey, I'd really love to be part of this, like your question, Tim, cool. Why? Like, what do you see in me that would make me a good fit to your group?
Good.
Also, I think, don't fall prey to imposter syndrome. We all have value. And, the imposter syndrome can come in. It's like, oh, I'm not worthy to be in this room. The reality is you are worthy. Now you need to go vet, is it worth my time to be in this room?
That's good. That's really good. Again, being intentional, kind of like our buddy Justin Cook. If I don't know, I ask. So if you don't know how you can add value, hey, how can I add value? If you don't know why you're being invited, hey, why am I being invited? If we could keep it really that simple, then life becomes a lot easier, I think, than with us always, because you can fall into that imposter. All of us can fall into that imposter syndrome real easy. I'd rather be in a group where I would just be genuinely myself. I am who I am. Oh, you want that? Like, I do a lot of training and speaking, but there's some topics I have no business talking about. So instead of trying to go craft a talk because I'm a speaker, be like, hey, you should get this gal or you should get this guy because I heard this talk and they do a really good job on it. It's just the way to go. Just being yourself and knowing when to step up and when to, step back. And so it's a great question, but I think they tie together because breaking into a group too, or, feeling more comfortable with a group, I think the group setting is really never the place to find your comfort. I feel like it's go into the group and find one person that you can then go have coffee with or take the conversation deeper. And then when you get together next month, you already now have a wingman. You already now have somebody that you've gotten to know who makes a good referral for, what they need in life. And you're already feeling like that much more invested into the group. So I would say, instead of just keeping it in this, like each time you go to the group, your expectation is I'm gonna really go deep here. I would say go to the group, learn as much as you can, and then find the one person in that group that you can go double down and even if you're brand new, hey, could we have coffee? I'd love to pick your brain about some stuff in the local community in this group, how I could add value to you. Would love to learn from you. And I've done that where it's like, I'll pay for your coffee if you'll let me bring a blank piece of yellow pad and ask you some questions because I want to grow. Like that was one of the best things when I first started out. My boss, Jeff Turner, down in Smyrna, Tennessee, I was like, dude, he said, where do you want to grow? I told him some areas I wanted to grow. And he's like, you should go meet this person, that person, and this person, and just take a blank piece of paper and ask them some questions. So I was like, well, how could I make that worth Todd's time? Todd will never give me the time. So it's like, hey, Todd, I'll pay for your coffee if you'll let me. And Todd, while I was thinking Todd would never give me the time, then I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about professionals like you.
Oh, yeah.
But it shocked me. Nobody turned me down. Not a one. And everybody got back to me really fast. There's no ask. There was no do business with me. There was nothing. It was, I want to go learn from you. So
Humility.
hopefully what would you guys add to that as far as like more singling out or going deeper with, or?
That's all I do now. I mean, if I go to an event and I meet 5 people that I find interesting or something we connected with outside of that event, that's an easy ask. Hey man, enjoyed our conversation. Would love to catch up with you over coffee, breakfast, lunch in the next 2 weeks. Talk more about whatever the connection was. People want to know who they're working with, who they're referring in. Do I trust this person? Do I like this person enough to put my name on it? So I think you don't get that in a big event. That's more just you meeting people. It's casual conversation. You don't get too deep. So I think taking them off, afterwards is a great way to really vet. Is this a person I want to invest my time in, personally, professionally, so I can develop myself and hopefully help the both of us along the way?
The 3 things that the students in MTSU and the professional selling group are taught: meet someone new, hold a relevant conversation, earn a follow-up visit. That's it.
It's good. That's good. Meet someone new, hold a relevant conversation, relevant keyword, and get a follow-up. Earn the follow-up. I like the word earn the follow-up. Would you follow up with you? Maybe that's a good question for the mirror before, like, would my conversation earn a follow-up?
And a lot of it also goes back to grooming and being professional in your dress, in your attire, those types of things. Those are other things that build confidence. You have to be genuine and be yourself. If you have to be something different to fit into a group, into a room, and we've talked about this before, that's not good.
Don't go.
Though you don't, I don't want to go into a professional networking event dressed as Tom Hanks in Castaway. I mean, it's just, there's something between Castaway and Liberace that, either on both spectrums, I'm going to be uncomfortable. So how do I learn about what is appropriate? Like, what is that group? Is it jeans and a button up? Is it, is it Castaway? I don't know. But if you can find someone who's been to that event in the past, that gives you, a little bit more comfortability.
It's good.
I heard a quote too that said, "Are you the person that brings energy to the room when you walk in, or the person that brings energy to the room when you walk out?"
So, whew, all right, they're gone.
That's a gut check.
Wow, that is good. Which ties right into Joanne's chat here. Smile at everyone you come in front of. Everyone likes a nice person. It breaks the ice and makes you approachable. 100%, Joanne. Joanne knows this because we've spoken, but I'm an intense person. I get intense. I get passionate about something. I really like to break stuff down. And I've had to remind myself, my speaking coach told me this a long time ago. He's like, you make great points, but you need to smile more. Like when you're on stage, don't get so intense with your point that you forget to smile. Like smile at the audience. It helps them release tension and pressure. So Joanne, thanks for that. I think 100%, like just being around, just smile, just remembering to smile. I think most of us, we have that great business card picture, but like even in person, just smiling at people, just being friendly. And even if somebody isn't a great fit, or you're in a casual conversation, just smiling, thanking them for their time they invested to talk, whatever. I want to just zoom in with you, Todd, though, just back to what you said.
Sure.
And it really revolves around this concept of less is more. So going in, you said you set a time limit, which I love, by the way, because, we're going to go. Don't you love the networking events that turn into bar hopping?
Not really.
You're at this networking and everyone's like, we're going over here. I'm like, no, why? No, like, let's not. But anyway, long story short, set the time limit, be intentional. Let me ask you this, though. You said fewer is better in your mind because you can go deeper. Do you go into that event like having seen maybe a list of names, or maybe your wingman has said you need to meet these 2 people, or maybe you're approaching this new group knowing, or do you go in sometimes blind looking for those 3 to 5, or like, I mean, I'm guessing all of us would love to see something beforehand, not always having the chance. So maybe break that down.
Yeah. If you get it ahead of time, always a home run. Not a lot of folks share that just for privacy reasons, but if you can get an attendee list, always good. And I got one for an event here recently that we were sponsors. So I guess that's why we got it easier. But 300 attendees, I went through and instruct 10 people, like, I got to meet this person during the day. It was an all-day event while we're all together here, because it's just, we're already in the room. Let's make sure I bump into that person. To David's point earlier, if I walked into an event, all the name tags are out. I always, my last name's a B. I start on the left end of the table and I work my way down. Who's going to be here? And having been in the business community for a while, there's a good chance if it's a room that I'm, familiar with, I'm already going to know a person or 2, and I'll try to seek them out just to start my conversation with somebody, kind of pick their brain on why they're there, that sort of thing. But if you can get information ahead of time, it's key. I think one thing that I do with folks, like the event I had this Saturday, is there's a follow-up email. I think that's where a lot of us fall short. Is I'm going to send an email out to everybody that attended the event with their LinkedIn profile attached in there. If you guys didn't get a chance to connect or swap information, here's just a thanks for coming, and make sure you reach out to these guys to have a conversation post the Preds game. Then you're the thanking them for coming. I've already got a couple of thank yous, but I think that's the thank you for me. And my intention is to hope they take it off, beyond that. So anytime you get information on the attendees, it's worth its weight in gold, for sure.
Hey, another thing is, especially if it's a quality event, which every event you go to should be a quality event.
Yeah.
Look at your prospecting list in advance and ask if they're going to be there. Hey, I'd love to meet while we're there. By chance, are you going to be attending? Someone, maybe if they're not, maybe a colleague is. So you can preset that a bit as well.
That's great. So info ahead of time is key. If you don't have it, get there ahead of time, because you'll see the name badges possibly. And if you don't have either one of those, get there to the event, meet somebody you already know, and ask them. Todd, you said this, ask like, why are they there? Who do they want to meet? Because maybe you know somebody they want to meet. And then you can say, hey, I'm looking to meet like these 3 people. And maybe they know those people and they can introduce. So then you can introduce each other around the event. So great stuff. And then if you're hosting the networking, what Todd just said is so key. And David, being the broker of the information, being the like facilitator of connection post the event. It's so powerful. If you're taking notes, like jot those things down. Just kind of, again, rethink the connection of a networking event. And Todd, where I really wanted to go, because I think this is just, we put way too much pressure on ourselves to go get 50 business cards that we can add to a database. And it just never, first and foremost, they don't get in the database. They're just in a pile. They're somewhere. And we're just in this endless loop of big events, lots of names. Go in with more precision, go in with more pre-call planning, go in with a little bit more of intentionality, like you used when we kicked this thing off. And then I think you'll find yourself doing better because then you have a deeper conversation. And then follow-up is literally in the hand because, Todd, I really love talking about analog. Like, wow, like my grandpa too, whatever. But really enjoyed the conversation. Let's have coffee. Now, you said something, and I might have learned this from you, actually. Because earlier you said, let's have coffee in the next couple of weeks. Is there a key to that in your mind of why you say in the next couple of weeks? Because I do want to shift now into like kind of the follow-up and teeing up the follow-up.
As soon as don't pounce on them. Don't be desperate, but be intentional about, hey, enjoyed meeting you last Thursday. How's your calendar between now and the 15th of the month? I'd love to get some time. That gives them a line of sight of, okay, in my next 2 weeks, instead of them trying to just making it difficult to set the next step, give them a window they can define and look at. I think is professional. First of all, we've all been caught in the email thread back and forth. You got 20 emails deep to schedule a meeting, which is one. It does one thing or two things. One, it frustrates me if you're old and crotchety like myself, just the banter. But two, it sets the expectation and tone of how you're going to communicate with them going forward. And then if you're a referral for them to somebody, how you're going to communicate to your potential clients that they're referring you to. So think in terms of like not just first impression visibly and talking to somebody, but your communication style. If you're hard to pin down for a meeting or you're squirrely about your calendar, you forget things, you're going to be hard to refer to somebody because they know, that meant to me 4 days to get this guy to pin down a date.
Yeah.
I think when you ask for a follow-up, make it easy for them. Hey, I've got time in the next couple of weeks. Here are 2 or 3 dates that work well for me at this location that's convenient to you. Selfish as it may be, your time is valuable. And if it's valuable to them, they'll come to you. It's also a little bit of an alpha thing where you're still in control of the process a bit. So if you say, hey, let's meet at this coffee shop this day or this day, it gives them 2 yeses to pick from. And it makes it easy for them to look at their calendar and laser focus on those 2 dates. And if those days aren't good, throw a couple more out there. We can figure something out. Because if you make it a ping pong match, I'm out. I don't have the patience for it. It's like, this isn't hard to do. We're going to either get together or not get together sometime the next 14 days that makes sense for both of us. So make it easy for the follow-up.
I feel special because Todd actually picked a coffee house near me last time. He probably had another call after that, but
it was right around the corner from there, of course. No, I come to see David.
I love that.
I'm also laughing at Roberts, who even carries business cards anymore.
That's a good point.
Some do, most don't.
I don't. I found that Popple card. Have you guys seen those or the dot? Mm-hmm. I use the dot card because of the last 2 big events, the one I mentioned a moment ago, the all-day event. I did not have a card on me. And I got to ask for a card all day. And I thought, never again. So I use that now as just a quick digital tap on their phone. But
there's also a quick way on LinkedIn to connect. You can bring your connection thing up like that.
You do a QR from LinkedIn. You can do the Popple. One of the things that I found very successful is if I'm going to an event. Now, I may exchange like some Popple information with a casual connection. They want to connect with me. They may have a referral for me. They want my information. Quick Popple is those tools are great. But what I found for me, if I really want to meet you after this event, you're one of my key reasons for being here. I go into the event thinking in the back of my brain, I want a conversation with you. And I want to get your cell phone. Like I want you, not in no spammy way, but I'm going to commit to you that I'm going to follow up with you after this. So again, it might be a 5-minute conversation. Todd, I know you came here to meet a lot of people too. Don't want to dominate your time here, but could I get your cell phone number? And I'll be reaching out in the next couple of days to set some time on our calendars. I've never had anybody say no when I asked that specifically, but then I already have my cell phone contact card set up with a share, and I just go text and hand you the phone. Could you put your cell phone? So literally they're texting themselves from my phone. And then before I hit send, I put their name. So I remember when I get back to my hotel room or whatever, any numbers in there, I remember whose name it went with. And then they're hearing from me via text. And usually it's, hey, I just sent you an email with some dates. It was great to discuss analog with you and this, that, and the other. Yep. So that way it kind of highlights in their inbox my email, because I understand they're getting thousands of emails a day. Or maybe it went into a spam folder because I've never emailed this person before, possibly. So, but again, that was great. Business cards, and then the 2-week mentality or the 2-week mindset. And then something Todd said very key there, just to highlight again, is have a game plan and make it super easy, because they are going to get a feel for how you are going to deal with somebody they refer to you. So always be referable would be how to look at your networking more effectively. Am I referable? Am I making it easy? So great point there.
Add one
So
thing
Tim,
to that too. This is day 2 or 3 down the road, but if you become a referral partner of theirs, like make the intro the same way for them to intro you to somebody. Don't make it some big paragraph or two of why they should meet. They're teeing up a conversation with a potential client for you. Like take the same approach to that, like 2 lines or less. Hey, Tim, David, I know you guys, we talked about each other. I think you'd both find some value in the conversation. I'm not sure if David can help you, but I think you'd both walk away with some good information to share going forward. And that way, there's no expectation other than you guys would find value in connecting. But don't make it difficult. Don't make the perfect, I got guys in my office, they're like, what should I say? I'm like, a whole lot less. Like, would you respond to that email? They're like, no. I said, don't send it.
So good.
So we have held Todd hostage for an hour.
We have.
You're good. You're good.
We have.
So
we got, and thank you for the time check, David, because it has gone by very fast. So many good nuggets. Todd, before we let you go, just hand kind of the golden microphone and just kind of like bring it out of the sky down to you now that you're all certified and everything. Like, what would you say just to kind of end the conversation, to put a big exclamation point on all this?
I appreciate that. Well, thanks again for the time, guys. That's always good to see you both. I would say a couple things. One, we've said it a few times, but be intentional. Why am I going to this event? Do I need to be going to this event? Second is be efficient with your time. We all have the same amount of time each day. And back to the confidence piece, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. You're the expert in the room until you prove otherwise. So go in there with confidence that hey, I'm the pro at this, although you may not be in tenure. You have people around you that can support you and help you out. Imagine at an early stage in any career that can answer those questions. And the third thing is back to what you guys said earlier, have fun with it. I think we overthink this a lot of times of I've got to have the perfect outfit, the perfect thought, the perfect response, the perfect whatever. The perfect event doesn't exist. People are people. They want to get belly button to belly button now. I think people are done with Zoom. I know I am. I made a joke to David, like, you wouldn't know that I'm 8 feet tall on Zoom, because we're all the same height on Zoom, I'm not, but reality is it's like, this is such an impersonal way to do things. I think people are desperate to a degree to just get face to face and have that coffee. So I think, be intentional, be confident about it, have fun doing it. And I think you'll find that the events, as I've gone to several, like, I don't want to go. And then when I go, I'm like, I'm so glad I went to this. I bumped into an old friend or a new friend that have carried me somewhere else in life. And I think someone said it earlier about a web. I can think back to the different dots that connect. I'm like, golly, that was because of Mark Smith or because of David that totally forgot about that thing 8 years ago.
So good.
Have fun with it. So
good. Thank you for that. I just dropped Todd's LinkedIn link in the chat, so you guys can go over on LinkedIn, connect with Todd. And some of you agency owners out there, reach out, connect. Todd is in the human capital business, so you should have him in your corner for sure. Todd, thank you, sir. Thank you for investing your time with us today.
Likewise.
Adios.
Always good.
Bye, buddy.
Take care.
All right. Now I'm going to hit stop recording for a second. We have some questions to get to. So for all of those who are going to stick around for the Q&A, if not, they'll be uploaded on the channel. Stick around here. All right, David, hang on. Let me hit stop recording.